first, I realized that I had found an institution that really cares about your teaching, which is something that's very close to my heart. Not only as a professor, but also, of course, as dean. The second aspect that really impressed me about what we do is how much we care about incorporating capabilities and skills that are needed, that are required by employees into our programs. Is it critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills? Is it being able to work and collaborate in groups? And how do we enable that? Is it through simulations? Is it through challenges? Is it diversity in the sense of being able to work with anyone in the world? All of these aspects are still, and were at the time, incorporated into the course content. So in essence, I found, and I feel like I work at a school that is based on the very basic, simple, but powerful principle and belief that you learn most by having an applied experience, that you learn most by doing. But that learning by doing has to be enabled with good pedagogy and excellent faculty. So, this is something that excites me about who we are and what we offer. And it is not just me that says it, or us that say it. Our peers recognize it, and that's why we are the first triple accredited, school in the United States. So, that's why I fell in love with Hult as an institution. Now, if we talk about the Boston campus, then, well, it's the most beautiful campus we have at Hult. Quite simply said. It is our first campus. It is our original campus in 2003. We have roots that extend more than 50 years, but we opened our first campus here in Cambridge in 2003. I would always also argue that that we are unique in the sense that we're the only campus that offers a community that incorporates multiple programs, undergraduate and postgraduate. So we are the only campus under whose umbrella we have undergraduate programs, postgraduate programs. We have Whole Point is our undergraduate building. Whole Center is our postgraduate building, and Whole House is our residential building. All of them with relative to 2 or 3 minutes walk from one another. We are incredibly diverse and dynamic. We are hosting this year a little over 1,600 students that represented, in last time I checked, about almost 110 different countries. So fantastic, wonderful, beautiful diversity and the opportunity to learn about others. Our campus offers about 90% of the different program and program variations that Hult offers as an institution. So under the same, campus umbrella, same roof, we have almost a totality of our programs. We are a campus that is, of course, within Boston. And again, what's not to like about the city of Boston, one of the most beautiful and historic cities that we have in the United States. Also, of course, a location that is known for its academic community, biotech industries, startup industry. We have, I think just in Boston alone, we have about 40 different colleges and universities. If you think about New England, which is a group of 6 states in the northeastern part of the United States, now we're talking about 250 different colleges and universities with a undergraduate population close to 800,000 and a graduate population close to 200,000. So, we are in a region, area, city that lives and thrives, academic experience. So, and of course, the beauty of, for those of you who have not been exposed to that, the beauty of the different seasons. We're in the fall, comes winter, spring, and summer. So it's just a wonderful place to be, a wonderful and dynamic community to be part of. I would like to just, before I I say goodbye to my introductory chat, go back to that notion, the academic experience, because to me that's very dear in my heart. Our diversity, as I indicated before, does not just mean that, oh, we come from all these different countries. Of course, that is who we are. This is who we are. As you're listening to me. But I would argue that diversity is found in our staff, of course, but also in our faculty. And our faculty have very diverse backgrounds and origins and cultures. Some come from as practitioners, some come from more academic backgrounds, but they share two very important characteristics that I want to reiterate. The two are that they're good at what they do in the sense of teaching, and they do, secondly, care very deeply about providing an applied, relevant experience. This goes back to our mission, which is quite a simple and clear one. We strive to be the most relevant business school in the world. And we strive to show that relevancy in the Boston campus, where our flag is to provide a meaningful.
My job is to make college easier because students have a lot.
To provide a meaningful and impactful student experience. That's what we do. And as you hear different team members intervene, you'll see what I mean. I'm very lucky. I think we are very lucky to have as our job, the mission to change people's lives for the better, your lives for the better. So I sincerely look forward to seeing you in the future. And thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that introduction, Dean Gonzalo. That was wonderful. I would now like to hand this over to Hult's Associate Director of Enrollment for the Master's Degree Program, Marley Melvin, and she'll be able to tell you a little bit more about all of our postgraduate programs. So Marley, I'll hand this over to you.
Hi, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. My name is Marley. I am the Associate Director of Enrollment here in the wonderful city of Boston. I am from Boston as well. I don't know if you guys can tell throughout me describing the programs. If you do have any questions about the city after the presentation, just feel free to throw it in the chat. Always happy to talk about the city itself. So the great thing about the Boston campus, we offer almost all of our programs here at this main hub. So you really have a lot of options if you do decide to come to Boston for your master's degree. So I'm going to briefly go through all of the programs that we do have available. And then if you have any questions about the programs themselves, speak with your enrollment advisor and they will be able to assist you with all that. So to start it off, we have our Masters of International Business, which is actually offered at all of our campuses globally. Our Masters of International Marketing, Master of Business Analytics, Master of Finance, and then we have our Global One-Year MBA program, Executive MBA program, and our Hybrid MBA program. So really the only programs that aren't offered at the Hult Boston campus is our Master of Social Entrepreneurship and our Masters in Entrepreneurship and Innovation with our, which are offered in San Francisco. Now, the great thing is if you guys do decide to select Boston as your home campus, which I hope you do, you actually have the opportunity at the end of the year during the summer to rotate to any of our other programs globally to experience a new city. So this is really great for yourselves if you want to diversify your location on your resume to say you studied international business in multiple different cities around the world. So that's really my brief overview of the degrees themselves. And like I said, just talk to your enrollment advisor if you are interested. For those who have not applied yet, we do have an applications deadline next Thursday, October 28th.
Great, amazing. Thank you so much, Marley, for doing that. Again, if anyone has any questions, please input them into the chat function and we will go through this at the end of the session and get to all of those. All right, great. Next up, we do have Paula Ceballos from Career Services. Paula, I'd love to hand this over to you and have you talk through what Career Services has to offer.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Paula. I'm actually a Hult alumni myself. I did my Bachelor's of Business Administration at Hult. I chose San Francisco as my main campus, but I did take the rotations and went to London and Shanghai during summer. So Marley, I love that you mentioned that, because I think it's something great for people that are not ready to go a full year to another country. This is a great opportunity for you to experience that while still having a main campus. Now on to corporate relations and careers. There's a lot of different things that we do for the students throughout the year. Students at Hult will have career advisors per program, which are the people that will help you develop the skills and resources for you to be able to land job opportunities at the end of your program. And similarly, corporate relations, what we do is we make sure students have different connection networking opportunities throughout the year so that they get different mentorship, internship, and job opportunities. And as you can see right now, we have a global team of career advisors and team members in corporate relations that will be able to assist you throughout your program. I want to talk a little bit about what the career advisors do at Hult. And like I was mentioning before, they help you develop those skills to get you prepared to land jobs at the end of your program or to land internships when internship time arrives. So here are some of the things that they do, such as help you find your career focus, give you networking advice, work on your resume and LinkedIn, give you job search strategies. If we can go to the next slide. And there's different ways in which they engage with you and in which corporate relations engage with you as well. So for careers first, they have career advising sessions, which are one-on-one sessions where you can talk to your career advisor, tell them where you're at in your career journey, what you'd like to work on, and they'll be able to have a very personalized approach to that. There's also drop-in sessions where you can go in and just ask any quick questions that you might have, and they'll be able to assist you on that. We also have a really great platform called My Career. This is a platform where you will see any and every resource available to every student globally. So you'll see resources from the Boston campus, the San Francisco campus, the London campus, the Dubai campus. So it's definitely your one-stop shop for anything career and corporate relations. They also have career programming. These are different opportunities in which they have bootcamp, career accelerators, master's classes, where they bring guest speakers that are industry experts and can help you with your career path. And then finally, career network, and this is where corporate relations comes at play. We do have a lot of different events throughout the year for students to network, such as industry events, alumni connections, online job boards. And I'll talk a little bit more about all these different engagements opportunities in the next slide. So throughout the year, like I was mentioning, we have a lot of different opportunities for students to connect, to learn how to network. So most of these can be summarized in the following. We have mixers. These are opportunities where students can leverage the whole network and connect with alumni and with their current peers, who can be foot in the doors for companies that they want to work in, and just great opportunities to network and learn about their career journey. We also have recruiter panels. These are opportunities in which we bring recruiters to campus. So you hear from them in what they're looking for in the ideal candidate and how you can stand out, because most of the times, these will be the first contact you have with every company. We also have company highlights. These are opportunities in which companies come to campus, talk to you about their companies, how you can apply, what it is like to work in these companies, so you can see if this is a right culture fit, and also get the opportunity to network with them one-on-one. And finally, Handshake. This is an extremely important platform. This is where we post all the different jobs available to our students. Daily, there's around 700 jobs being posted. That's roughly 14,000 jobs per month. So this, I always tell students, is you should bookmark this. This is a very important resource, because not only is this the first place you should look for applying for jobs, but it's also a platform that has a lot of different resources where you can connect with different companies. They host different virtual events weekly with big companies like Google, PwC, and most of these events are very targeted towards different communities. So you'll see there's events for the Latin community, the Asian community, for people interested in marketing, people interested in finance. So it's a great resource to take a look into as well. And the last one that I was going to mention is industry panels. These are some of the most important events we have throughout the year. And this is where we bring industry experts to campus so they can give students an overview of all the different industries they can go into. So by the time they can start applying for internships, or by the time they graduate and are looking for a job, they know what industry they want to go into and they can narrow down their job search. So here I have included an industry panel that's coming up. It's a program and product management industry panel. We have alumni from Salesforce, TikTok, Data Axle, Autodesk, NVIDIA. Some of these alumni are also ex-Googlers. And the fact that they're alumni gives them the perspective to share how, as international students, they were able to make a career in the United States. So not only will you be learning about the different industries, but also you get the opportunity to network with them and learn how they managed to make a career in the US. Now let's go on to numbers. So in 2020, 89% of the MBAs got employment after their program, and 91% of the master's students got employment after their program. A very important factor to getting employed is internships. So we have included here some of the summer internships our students have done in 2021. So here you can see a list of them. There's some with Adidas, some with UN, some with Warner Bros. Media, SAP, among others. And then finally, we have some great jobs in growth sectors from 2021. So as you can see, some of our students have gone into Google, ASAP, Amazon. In financial services, they've gone to Citibank, different fintech startups. Also in the data jobs, they've gone to Amazon, eBay, Facebook, Airbnb. And before the last slide, I would like to very quickly see if you guys can guess who was our top employer for our students in 2021. From this list that you see here.
Feel free to put your guess into the chat function.
Okay, one person says Google, Amazon. Let's see if we can get two more guesses. Amazon. Okay, let's show them the right answer. The right answer is Amazon. The class of 2020 top employer was Amazon. They are currently having a very big hiring push, projecting to hire around 14,000 new employees in their tech sector. So definitely a great company to keep in mind. I always like to tell students that your career journey at school is what you make of it. So definitely, if you do decide to come at Hult, take advantage of all the different resources that you get from the career advisors, connect with your career advisors, go to the corporate relations event and make the best out of this towards the end of your program.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Paula. I love all of those stats. Great to see. All right, so next we have Emily Stallings with Student Services. Emily, I'll hand this over to you and allow you to go through your slides here.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. It is so lovely to have you joining us today from whether it be morning, evening, afternoon. Hope you're having your coffee if it's the morning. We sure are here, I must say. Excuse me if I start getting kind of coffee. It is now fall here in Boston, and I today woke up with my cold for the season. So that's just really awesome. So I work on our student services team and have been at Hult since 2019. I will say the glory of our student services team is we really are here to support our students outside of the classroom through your entire journey, starting with orientation right when you begin your journey in August or September, and then all the way through. We also manage and execute graduation. So we really assist you guys and help you guys with things all along that journey during your time here. I want to talk to you guys today just a little bit more about opportunities outside of that classroom, right? So we all come to school because we want a degree, right? We know that, but we also know that outside of the classroom is where you get a lot of your best and favorite experiences during your journey. It is what people talk about the most, right? Like, sure, you're going to remember some of those assignments you've had, but you're really going to remember and be able to talk about a club event that you've executed and a speaker that you brought in. So we do have 3 different types of clubs here and all of our global campuses. The first one that I like to touch on is our professional clubs and organizations. So our professional clubs and organizations are a great opportunity for you to network in addition to all of the corporate relations events that come up throughout the year. We've had some of our clubs bring in amazing guest speakers, host hackathons, do things like that, that aren't run by our corporate relations and are purely student run on our campus. Hult Data Global is one of our largest professional clubs. It is across all of our campuses, and they host hackathons globally. They bring in different speakers from different business analytics and data companies. So it has been amazing to see that organization grow over the last 2 years and become one of the largest ones on our campuses. We also have a very, very solid consulting club that usually brings in speakers from Boston Consulting Group and other area consulting agencies throughout the year. And we see more and more that employers and companies and speakers want to work with students. When a student reaches out on their own, they often get a better result than if we reach out. Honestly, they want to see that initiative and they love being able to work with students directly. And those events can be the most successful that we have on campus because they're student led and driven. And so we really enjoy working with our professional clubs to kind of build out that networking and careers bit even more outside of what our careers team does themselves. And so that just really adds to those opportunities for you. Marley, if we could go to the next, which would be our social clubs. So professional, good and important. Yes, we're there, we're talking about it. It's very important in what you're coming to Hult for, but your social clubs and organizations are where you can make those connections with people who have just shared and common interests with you, people who you want to hang out with outside of the classroom and do things. Some of the most successful we've seen, last year we had a very successful, in spite of COVID, book and wine club who met regularly. We ordered different books. They did book clubs with them. They would meet about once a month over some wine, the wine part of the book and wine club, and they would discuss the books that they'd read. And it was a really great opportunity, especially in COVID, as one of the clubs, social clubs that really could meet regularly and in a safe way. They're still here this year, right? They're doing that with a little less COVID restrictions now that we're starting to come out of it. And then also some social clubs we're seeing is we always end up having a travel club. That one, again, was a little less active last year due to COVID, but we're seeing it come back in full force this year. We know that during your time in the US, if you do choose to come to Boston, you are going to want to try out and go visit different areas of the country while you're here, right? That's a huge part and a huge perk of coming to Boston is that you can get down to New York in a couple hours on the train and fly out to Chicago if you want to see the area in about an hour and a half long flight. So we are very centrally located, and our social clubs really go for that, and they use that as an opportunity to grease the wheels and make sure those happen and those trips and that travel happen. Also, I would say my favorite of our social clubs would be our International Food Club. So they meet about once a month, and usually people of different identities and different social groups will meet. They will cook for the entire group. They will go over why this dish is important to their culture, and they'll share that with one another, which I think we know that people come together over food. It is one of the ways that people and cultures come together. And so it's amazing to see the food club, the International Food Club, come back this year, because that was one of those clubs that was almost impossible to do due to COVID restrictions previously. And so I'm excited. I'll get some yummy food this year and get to learn about other people's cultures as well. And then our last type of clubs is our sports clubs. So we do have a very active sports clubs scene here in Boston. Our soccer club this year actually joined a league that is competing with some of our local area colleges, Tufts, Babson, Harvard, MIT, with their club soccer teams. And so we're really excited to see them go from just a recreational level sports club to now they are competing in our area, which has been an amazing opportunity for them. It is amazing for even the club leaders as well that got to take those steps and take that initiative and make it happen, right? This is something that was purely student driven because they know that people want to compete. We have a ton of other sports clubs too. I think this year we have about 10 sports clubs starting. And so they are just constantly growing because we see that that's something that our students really, really want. And so we're really helping make sure that happens. And if you come to Hult and you see clubs that you don't see clubs that you want to join, but you want to start them, it's super easy. We go through the process every year of starting new clubs and organizations on our campus. And it really is a relatively easy process that our team will work through the process with you and assign you a club advisor directly from the student services team. If clubs aren't how you want to get involved, we also always encourage students, if they're interested, to run for the Hult Student Association. So the HSA, as it is lovingly known, is our student government here at Hult. So every program will have representatives that are elected in by their program to not only just speak for the needs and wants of their program, but they also execute program-specific events, program-specific socials. If you guys want to do something at the end of the term, or you have a big midterm coming up, so you want to host a study session with snacks or things like that, the Hult Student Association has been a great opportunity to really have all of our programs have a voice on campus and make sure we are able to support your program, whatever that may be, if you choose to come to Boston, as best we can. And I work as the HSA advisor for the PGHSA. And so we're actually in the process of elections this week for this year. So we're very excited to shortly have the PGHSA and get rolling with them this year. Outside of the opportunities you can engage in that are more leadership positions, and if you think maybe I want to focus more just on my studies, but I still want to enjoy some things, but I don't necessarily want to be a president of a club or on Hult Student Association, we understand that, right? We understand that you may want to take a step back and you may want to really focus on your academics. So we also host a ton of events and activities on our campus for our students. These range from cultural festivals and cultural events. We always have a very successful Diwali. We have Dia de los Muertos, Lunar New Year. Those all are some of the most popular and most well-attended events on our campus. Those are all also student-led and student-driven, but by smaller, what we call Go Global committees. And so people of certain cultures who want to celebrate their festivities that are coming up will get together and they'll work together just to plan one event. Right? So you come in, usually Diwali is our first event every year. And so we will always have a large group of our Indian students will come in and they will get together. They'll plan and execute the best first student-led event every year. Definitely, they're already on their way to doing it this year. And so that's another way to get involved, but on a smaller scale. And we always welcome in new ideas and new events for students on campus. If you see something that is super celebrated in your culture, but you don't see it, we always welcome you and we will love to work with you to help highlight that in Boston. Outside of our cultural events, we also host some of the more US-based events because you are coming to Boston, you are coming to the US. Right now, we're doing a pumpkin carving contest today for Halloween. That's on campus right after this. We'll have some Thanksgiving celebrations coming up and things like those that are more US-led traditions. We also still are doing virtual events for our students. We know that some of you may not be able to get here right at the beginning, and we are still celebrating virtual events with our students to make sure that our virtual students, which we do still have a contingent of this year, are able to get engaged and be involved on campus. So there's lots of opportunities and it's a great way to make sure you get the most out of your Hult experience.
Thank you so much, Emily. That was great. I know being on campus, it's always so fun to see all the different activities that you guys do. It's really fun. As I mentioned earlier, we actually have a current Hult student on the webinar with us today, and he's present. Milan, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes, hello everyone. So my name is Milan Venkatesh. I did my UG with Hult. So my first year was in Boston, then I rotated to London. And I did my summers in Dubai, and I just graduated this last spring in BBA in management. Now I'm doing my master's, MIB for now, and dual degree I've not planned yet. So yeah, that's kind of my Hult history or something like that. So originally I'm from India, but I was born and raised in Dubai. And to be honest, I was a part of Hult since 2017, I can say, because first I started in San Francisco, in Hult Pre-University, which was there like for 2-3 years, I guess, from 17. Then I started to do my 2018 fall. I came to Boston. Then I started my BBA there. After 1 year, then I took that advantage of rotating to different campus. So I thought of like, oh, let me go to London now. So I went to London. I did my 2 to 3 years there. Unfortunately, because of COVID, the last year was in online. So I came back to India. Then I finished my degree in limitless learning. So after that, I thought of, okay, let me just start now for my master's. So I thought of going back to Hull because for me, I felt so comfortable with Hull, the way they are, the course, the syllabus, the way it is. Moreover, it also helped me to build my growth mindset, which is the main Hull DNA right now, and also which they are always keep on pushing us to go on that from fixed mindset to growth mindset. So which I think is something eye opener for me. Because of Hult, I got a lot of opportunities working with different companies for my internship or for my part-time jobs. So there was something really more interesting, really more thing which enlightened me to build my resume or to build my career growth or career success with it. So currently now I'm in MIB. So I'm doing my it's my fourth week, I guess, yeah, in masters, and currently I'm in Boston. And if you guys have any questions regarding accommodations, or if you have what's the student life in Boston, please do let me know about that. I'm happy to share about my experience.
Great, thank you for that introduction. That was perfect. I know we do have a number of questions in the chat function in the Q&A box, and I will get to those, but I would love to hear about your experience in moving to Boston. I know we always get a lot of questions about accommodation, what was it like moving to this new city? What's the city like as a student? If you could just talk us through that a little bit, and then we can jump into the questions in the chat.
Yeah, so first thing I would let everyone to keep in mind about the weather in Boston.
Yeah.
So because it is too different, it's like a different world for me, coming from Dubai, having like 50 degrees Celsius there, and shifting to Boston where it's like negative 20 degrees Celsius, like in January and February, which is something different for me, to be honest. I wouldn't say that it is horrible because I really love snow. This is the first time I'm seeing it. So I'm experiencing it. So when I came to Boston, so first thing you need to keep in mind about the weather, you need to get prepared for it. So that's the first main thing. Second thing about Boston is the time zone, because for me, it's like 9 hours behind I am in Boston. And once the daylight comes in November, it's going to be 10 hours. So I think that these two things are something awake, which keeps you away from family, like with the time zones and everything. But coming back to in the city of Boston, it also shows that it's a big history culture for America, because this is where the independence were. I think this is where the independence were started for US. But for the Boston city, there's something like they say that it's an academic capital of America. So I would really like to it's a kind of an experience gives you in Boston, because wherever you see always students, like different universities right here. But in Hult, when I started in my Boston campus, it was kind of so new to me, because the city was totally different the way I came from. Second thing, that the way the Hult started for me, because back in school was totally different, but when I came here, it was too diversity. It was too international for me, like more than 100 nationalities. Students are studying in one campus. That brings a lot of cultural aspects here. So these kinds of experience made me to think that how are these values portrayed here? And when you work with teams and these things, you might have different kinds of conflict values there, and you need to agree with it and you need to handle those things. So I think that coming to Boston, the first thing you need to keep in mind is that it is truly international from Hull perspective, also from the Boston city. So I think that this is the main thing for us to keep in mind about when we come into Boston. So second thing, I think, yeah.
Some people are asking about actual accommodation in the different neighborhoods. I'm happy to talk about the different neighborhoods if you'd like.
Yeah.
So the campus is actually located in Cambridge. And then around Cambridge, you have Somerville that you can also live in. Of course, you have downtown Boston, the North End. These are all kind of like surrounding parts of the city. The Seaport is also an option. It's a little bit more expensive to live down there. But a lot of our students live in the Cambridge and Somerville area, and I'll just put that in the chat function. So that way you can look it up if you'd like. And regarding when you moved and you needed to get an apartment, what did that look like? Did you? We do have housing on campus called Hult House. This is available for students to rent out a room, and it's within a 30-second walk to the Hult building, which is amazing. There's a soccer field out front. There's, a cafeteria, lounge area, laundry, movie room, all of that. But, regarding finding an apartment outside of Hult House, what did that experience look like for you?
Okay, so I would recommend for a lot of students to accommodate near Cambridge or Somerville, because when it snows, it's really hard for transportation to reach to college. So let's say if you're somewhere like in downtown Boston or somewhere like in Charlestown, you're gonna have a 20 minutes walk from there, and sometimes there might be a stop for the buses or for the T, like which we call train here is called T in Boston. So that's the first thing you need to keep in mind also. And second thing is that when it's snowing, it is really hard to walk to come to the campus. So I would always recommend to live in Cambridge or else in Somerville, but somewhere closer to Cambridge, Somerville border side. So second thing was there's lots of accommodations right here, like residential buildings near to Hult, which is like, I think 2020, Zing, Avalon, Regatta. And these are like huge residential apartments, which is available right next to Hult. So these are the closest options which students can opt for. Or else if they want to live, like, let's say if they have a couple of friends, like 5 to 6 members, they can go down to the Cambridge, and there are lots of apartments. Like I live with my friends. So we are like 6 of us in like a 6-bedroom apartments. So we live like a little bit further to Hull, like a little bit farther, like 20 minutes walk. So there are lots of individual houses or flats out there. You can even check that in apartments.com, or else if you're just alone, you can look in spareroom.com. So these kinds of websites gives you a really good closure, a really exposure about the apartments, how they handle in the US. And also you need to keep in mind about the rules and regulations they have, because like some apartments, if you want to rent it, you might have to pay like 3 months rent upfront, like security deposit, first month and last month rent. So these kinds of things. So if whatever feels comfortable for you, so you can opt for it. But I think when you opt for Hult House, the first thing is it's really close. So no matter if it's a thunderstorm, also you can walk to campus. Second thing that you don't need any, I think so you don't need any booking like 3 months upfront payment also. It's really closer. It's also really easy for the people who comes to first time to US or to Boston to opt for Hult House, because you get lots of support from even from Hult if there is anything happens. And also there is a cafeteria right over in the campus. There is a gym. There is a climbing mountain, which is really good. When I saw that, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And also worth to mention soccer field. So these things are like, it's really good to communicate, also looks to socialize with a lot of Hult students, because if you're living in Hult House, so let's say if you're like a bunch of friends, like 6 members or 5 members, you want to stay like a little bit further, these kinds of residential apartments I would recommend. Or else you can opt for somewhere like near Cambridge. So there's lots of individual houses. So where I live currently, but in 2018, when I came, I lived in Hult accommodation. But that time there was no Hult House, so we lived in Avalon. So with the part of Hult accommodation. So that's the first thing I would recommend anyone to look for, is to Hult House, because you're coming to Boston, it's an entirely new city. Because some students might think that, well, I'll come to Boston and look for accommodation, but it's not that easy compared to, like, let's say London, because here there's lots of rules and regulations are there, and you might need to get a lot of documents, and it might be a huge stress for you, because when you come to Boston, you might start your Hult education, and when you look for accommodation, it's gonna create a more of mental stress. So I would recommend to priorly choose the accommodation which one you look for, and start having process for that.
Thank you so much for all that. I appreciate it. So Also for anyone, after you've applied, assuming that you've been accepted into the program, you will be invited to either WhatsApp groups or Facebook groups specifically for the Boston campus. And you can meet other people that way. That's how you can find roommates, housemates, etc. But I'm going to go ahead and start going through some of the questions in the chat. So the first question, Paula, can career advising begin before starting the program?
That is a great question, and the appropriate answer to that is not really. Career orientation will start once you join your campus. When you go into Boston physically, you'll receive an orientation where you would meet with each different department, and that's where you'll meet your career advisor for your specific program and the corporate relations team behind it as well. So the right answer would be you would have to come to campus first, and that's when you would have the opportunity to meet your careers and corporate relations department.
Thank you. Next question is from Marley. Marley, can you please talk a little bit about the...
Yes, I would love to talk about the dual degree with you guys. So essentially how it works, you have your first year, which usually runs from September to August. And then you have the option to add on a dual degree. So after you've finished your first year, you can decide, what dual degree you want to do. And essentially all those programs I went over earlier this afternoon, those would be your options for dual degree. Right now we are offering, some dual degree scholarship opportunity as well. So I would encourage those who haven't applied yet to Hult to do so the earlier, the better in the year, because that provides you the best opportunity for the scholarships available.
Great, thank you. Let's see, Milan, can you please explain a typical day at Hult or as a Hult student, how long your classes are, etc.?
Okay, so for the masters, first thing is your orientation. So it depends on when is your early check-in, like early date or regular intake. So second thing, they will allot you that these are the courses you're gonna take for like first 5 weeks. So every 5 weeks, your courses changes. So for first 5 weeks, you take 2 courses, and each course will be like 2 days of two sessions of each course for 1 week. So let's say for me, it's like Tuesday and Thursday have classes, and each course you'll have 3 hours of class, but between they'll give you a break like for 10-15 minutes. So you won't be like it's a long class. So they'll give you a break, but each session is like 3 hours. So you'll have typically like 12 hours of lectures for a week. And in between, you might also have like academic essentials or career boot camps and these kinds of Hult workshops also in between. But most of this Hult boot camps doesn't conflict with the schedule. So they plan according to that. So I would say that for me, it's like I have like 2 days a week, my class, but however, it's a huge like pre-planned like homeworks. I have a lot of assignments. So it's not like I'm getting a free for like 5 days. So it's like I need to prepare for it. It takes me like 4 days for that. So basically we have like, so it depends on the way your cohorts is, because I think that they will separate like 3 cohorts. For us, it was like 3 because we are like around like 190 students. So we had 3 cohorts, and I was in the cohort 2. So for me, the class is like on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So like for me, it's like 1:30 to 4:30 for one session, like one course. Then I have 1 hour break. Then I have like 5:30 to 8:30. But however, for some cohort, it's like on morning, like they might have like 9 to 12, and they don't have class on like the next day. So it depends on the way it is. But for everyone, the common thing is like each session will be 3 hours, and you'll have 2 courses for 5 weeks. And it's going to be like in a week, you'll have 4 classes. So these are the days in typical between that. And however, if you want to go in the social way, you also have like career fairs, you'll have social fairs. I think recently we also had a club fair like yesterday, I guess. And we were having that, and between there'll be a lot of competitions going on. Like as Emily mentioned that we have a pumpkin craving, right? I think in 30 minutes, we have that. And these kinds of events also will keep you more engaging. And I will also recommend you to say that if there is forest midterms is coming on, so we also have an opportunity to study in campus. Like I think it's 24/7 open. So you can come to campus at any time. You can book any of the study rooms and study, or else you can have a group meeting there. And these kinds of things for me is typically right now going on. Like I have to schedule my group assignments, my midterms, and these things. So for a student, every week it changes for us the way we are looking on it, because every week our assignments, every week our situations are just a bit different. So basically, this is what the timeline looks like for a PG student in Hult.
Great, thank you. That was helpful. Next question is for Emily. Can you please let us know on average how much accommodation is, and then also how early people should start looking at housing?
Definitely. So I would say accommodation and how on average the cost is kind of tricky depending on where you want to live. So it really depends, like Brooke went over earlier, the different neighborhoods have slightly different costs, vicinity to campus, vicinity to downtown Boston. It will generally run you about, on the cheaper end, and this is the cheaper end, about $900. And I would say that a month. And that is if you are in a house with a lot of roommates that may or may not be Hult students, up to generally around $1,200. And some of our students pay upwards of $2,000 a month, just depending on where they would like to live and the kind of amenities they would like in the apartments that they are choosing to live in. I know that's a very wide range, but that is the true range of kind of the different towns and around Boston. I will say, if you are worried about cost and want to go on a little bit cheaper, and there is the option to move a little bit further out, but still on the T. So some of our students live out in Malden or Medford, which is about a town or two outside of Somerville, but is still available via train. I will say I just saw is a car necessary come in the chat as well. We do not really suggest that students get cars. It is a pain in the butt to park in Boston, and we do not offer any parking on campus. So we do suggest for housing that you stay in the vicinity that you are able to utilize the T and public transportation in order to get to campus, because that will make your life far, far easier. And you also don't have to worry about getting a US driver's license in order to get a car. As for when to start, I mean, once you pay your deposit and you know you're coming, it is definitely worth it to join the Facebook group that Brooke mentioned, that you're able to kind of connect with classmates to start looking for apartments. So maybe you can get that 3-bedroom apartment so that it's a little bit cheaper. The major lease turnover day in Boston is September 1st. And so people really start looking for apartments in June, even May in some cases. I will say, if you are going to be looking for accommodations and not traveling to the US to look at a space or an apartment, I would suggest you work with a broker, which is a common, a real estate broker who will be able to assist you in getting housing. We do see, unfortunately, every year, a few students will get scammed and they'll sign a lease for an apartment that may not really be there because they're not able to come to the US to physically see the space. And so we always suggest working with a broker if you are going to be renting a space without ever coming to the US. And then I saw also that on-campus housing price question come in as well. That varies. There are multiple different room types at Hult House. There's traditional dorm style, there's apartment style. And so it depends on what type of room you choose, and you can check in the link that Brooke dropped in the chat.
Thank you so much. Next question is for Marley. Just talking about numbers here, what is the average age of a Hult student in each program?
That's a great question. So for the MBA program, and Emily, maybe you can help me out with this, I think it would probably be like 30, upwards of 30. Whereas our master's programs, a lot of students are coming either right out of their undergrad or they have less than 3 years of full-time work experience. So I would say the average for that would be around 22 to maybe 25. That's where I would feel a lot of the master students fall into.
Yeah, that's what I would also say, Marley.
Great, thank you. I actually do have another question for Marley. If I can choose an online master, can I do my electives at Hult instead of on campus?
So yeah, if you do an online master's, I believe you do have the options to do your electives on campus if you want to. Emily's nodding, which is exactly what I was looking for. Yeah, so if you are looking for an online experience, but you do want to also have the campus experience as well, I do believe, yeah, you can come to any of our campuses.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's see. This may be one for Paula. Paula/Milan. What is the average student class size and what are the tutoring centers like? Could you share with us one situation academic-wise that made an impression on you and maybe something that you don't like at the campus? Maybe Paula, do you want to take this and talk about the tutoring centers? And then Milan, I'll have you talk about maybe your experience with career services as well.
Yes, so there's different opportunities in which career engages with students. Most of the time it'd be through your career advisors who will be the people that guide you, give you skills and resources towards finding jobs at the end of your program. They hold different events throughout the year. The Career Hub, you can visit them in their drop-in hours, but you can also schedule one-on-ones, which are opportunities to sort of expand more on what you're trying to do with your career advisor or where you're at in your career journey. For instance, let's say that you're having trouble building your LinkedIn or building your resume. That's when you would schedule an appointment with your career advisor to one-on-one go through that and sort of like build on that throughout your semester. And then Career Hub is mostly just for any like drop-in questions that you might have. For example, let's say that you're unsure what information you should put on your LinkedIn and you just want a quick answer, then you can just drop by and they'll give you a quick answer as well. And in addition to this, there's a lot of different events that happen throughout the year, like the career boot camps or the career accelerator, which are opportunities in which you and other people in your program are welcome to come in, have a session with a guest speaker, with your career advisor, and one-on-one work through the whole things that they're going through. So yeah, those are the different opportunities to engage.
Great, thank you. Okay, I think that you answered that perfectly, Paula. And I know we do have a number of questions here, so I'm going to try to get through as many as we can, probably in the next 3 or so minutes. How long does it take to get feedback on admission status? Usually it takes about 2 to 2.5 weeks. Let's see. How is the student, or what is the student culture like? Is it more professional or is it more of a social party type school? Milan, do you want to answer this one?
So yeah, it's kind of mixed, I would say, because it depends on the way you are. Let's say if it's a group meeting, it's not supposed to have a formal meeting that time. But second thing, if you're having like let's say if you want to work with a group, there's an assignment and you have a group meeting. So it doesn't have to be a formal thing like addressing, like wearing a formal shirts or something like that, going there. But second thing is that I think it's a mixed one, because let's say if you have a group meeting, but you're going outside, like together, socialize, to get together each other, and you're going out maybe to the park, it's right next to the Hult, there's opposite to Hult. And that time it's like a socializing way. But formal is like when you're in the classroom, when you're in a lecture, you're supposed to be addressing everyone in formal way, like with your professor or with anyone you're addressing with, or let's say with your friend. But it's kind of a mixture thing, like it's formal, also it's kind of a socializing way. So it depends on the way we are on currently. Let's say you're having an individual assignment, and the way you do your structured assignment is going to be formal. But when you're going to do it your like group way, or you have any, if you want to talk with your professor, it should be in the in formal way. So it depends on the way we look at it, and depends on the way we are from. Because for some things and some cultures, some things might be formal, some things might be looking into a social or like a socializing way. So it varies with each and every individual.
Thank you so much. All right, we're going to do 2 more questions here, just because I do want to be aware of everyone's time. And then I'm going to close this out with a quick 2-minute video of the Boston campus. So this question, actually both of these questions are going to go to Marley. The first one being, would a person over their 30s being out of the Hult scope, would it be weird, I think, for a person in their 30s to attend a master's program? And then also does an online master's as opposed to doing an on-campus master's diminish your networking abilities? So I'll let you go ahead and answer that.
Yeah, so if you're over 30 and you do have, over 3 years of full-time work experience, it's, a great fit for our MBA program. And that doesn't mean you can't apply for our master's programs either. I have candidates all the time that are over 30 and doing some of our specialized degrees. So usually the Master of International Business and the MBA, they're very similar. So the specialized degrees are great if you are looking to skill up in a certain, industry. So yeah, totally fine. There's never really a age, like education never stops. So you can come to Hult if you're 80. There's no real end to that. So and then Paula, in terms of like online networking versus in person, I think you would probably speak better than I would on that.
Yes, and actually, I think that's one of the benefits of the pandemic that everything. Oh, can you hear me? Oh, okay, perfect. I was going to say, I think that's one of the benefits of the current time we're living right now. Everything has become more virtual and in this way more available to all of our students. So through my career, any resources available to students in any campus are available to any student. For instance, let's say there's a very interesting event happening in San Francisco. Students at Boston will be able to access it as well virtually. Likewise, there's a lot of different resources too in our platform Handshake, where students can attend different virtual events with very interesting companies. So I would say there's no real disadvantage. The only, big difference would obviously be in person, you won't be able to network with the guest speaker coming to campus or something like that, but you'll have a lot of resources available to you. It's just a matter of like utilizing those different resources that you have.
Great, thank you. I know that Milan wanted to add something, and again, I'll show you that short video and then we'll close out today's session.
So yeah, when there was a couple of questions about the age in MBA or in masters, I would like to use this as an opportunity. Like I started my UG when I was 17. So it's like way young. And now I'm doing my master's and I'm 20. So it's like fully kind of like a mixture, like kind of age different between the students. Like for MBA, I can think it's like 30 is the average. For us, it's like from 20 to there is like 35. So it's really good, healthy, I think, for a classroom to have a different people, like different age students there, so that you can have they can share your experience and we can share our perspective or opinions on that. So I think that this culture, this diversity looks so healthy when you're in the classroom. So I just want to add that. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. So I'd love to close out today's session just with a very quick video of the Boston campus so you can actually get an idea of what it looks like. There you go.
Boston has always been known as a student town, the kind of academic environment I really want to be in. So this is the most international school I've ever seen.
The other day I walked into the elevator, there's Spanish, and then there's Italian, and then there's French being spoken, and then there's also Mandarin, and then there's me. So you walk in and you're thinking to yourself, this is the world and this is the way that it should be.
I love everything about Boston. I mean, I'm a Red Sox fan, so I go to every single game that I'm possible to go.
This kind of sports culture here in Boston is just so rich.
It's a vibrant city, and the history that's here.
The location of the actual campus itself is right by the Charles. So the view is absolutely gorgeous.
There's music and definitely a wonderful nightlife. And you would be very hard pressed to find something that you wouldn't enjoy in the city.
There are different types of working professionals in Boston that Hult has relationships with. They bring in and we can ask them questions about potential internships and potential jobs, and also just having a tour of their headquarters.
The professors that came, oh my God, they had this depth of subject matter. The content was something I had not been exposed to previously in my education.
You meet with a caring career advisor who puts you directly on track with your resume and with your LinkedIn profile.
I can tell that in these past 2 months with my teammates, I improved my professional skills much better than like 5 years working before in my home country.
What I imagined really is a perfect fit. It's what I wanted to see when I got here.
And I thought, if this is what I'm going to get from 1 year, oh, my life has changed.
Great. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. It was great to have you all. I hope that we were able to answer most of your questions. If we weren't able to get to your question, please feel free to email admissions@hult.edu. You can see just at the bottom of the screen here. You can also visit hult.edu/events to join any of our upcoming events, including our virtual skills lab series that actually allows you to experience what a Hult class is like with one of our Hult professors. So thank you so much again, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone.